A warm welcome to everybody from wherever you are. So we have people joining from many places on this planet, either via Zoom or live on YouTube. My name is Nina van Toulon. I'm happy to facilitate this webinar on behalf of International Waste Platform. I would like to start with complimenting Joy and her team for this publication because it's of great importance in all this troubles with waste management. And I can compliment her for many things, but in particular, I would like to compliment her because it provides insights in detail in the complexity of waste management and the challenges and solutions. And it shows us in-depth knowledge of local culture and economical situation and geography can never be out of our sight to be successful. And most of all, the book is free, available for anybody who likes to learn from these lessons and field experience from so many parties in so many countries. So first, I would like to take you through the structure of the webinar. At the end, we will do a question and answer session. So please, if you have a question, type in the chat box either in Zoom or in YouTube your name and your organization and location and to who you address the question. Secondly, the webinar will be recorded for later view. It will stay available. Then Joy will start after this with an introduction to the book, and Joy will be introducing all the speakers, and she will also share her screen with illustrations and pictures of all the different stakeholders who are speaking. And yeah, that's about it. I think yeah, all are muted, so we will gather all the questions from the typed chat from the typed questions in the chat box. So I will now hand over the hosting to Joy. One moment. Oh, first admit somebody. Yeah. So I now turn the floor to you, Joy. One moment.
Thank you, Nina. Let me just get the
one moment.
Screen share.
One moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Moment. There you go.
Here we go. One moment. Okay, so let me just project this. Great. Sorry, it's I think when you get the hosting privileges, you also get to go and let people into the waiting room. So hi, everybody. Nina, thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. It's such an honor to be here. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces around the room and to see so many people from actually around the world, every sort of part of the world here today with us. I think the reason we're all here is because we really care about this issue, and we realize that plastic environmental leakage is happening faster than our ability to stop it, and we're looking for solutions. So I believe that solutions have to happen at two different levels. We have to go from the top down and really address the root cause structural constraints that make setting up and operating waste systems so challenging, as well as bottom up, working at the front line, day by day, actually physically collecting the waste and processing it, recycling it, safely disposing it. So this work is really about supporting the front line and really empowering the front line to be able to do their jobs more effectively. So when we started this research, the exam question that we were trying to answer was, how have projects around the world solved universal challenges in low-funded waste and recycling systems? And this research was actually started 2.5 years ago. So this was before I had joined Systemic, before moving to Indonesia, before Project Stop, and it was I had worked at both McKinsey and the Ocean Conservancy, really studying, analyzing the ocean plastic challenge, and I really wanted to see if all of these theories that we had come up with as our team would actually work on the ground. But I realized also that we didn't know enough that we would be successful at really creating a circular, economically sustainable system. And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if we could learn from leaders around the world on how to do this? And so that's how this research came about. Leslie Hushka from ExxonMobil really believed in the idea and supported us. And then I was introduced to Nalini from Andrew Almack, who's on the call from Plastics for Change. And Nalini agreed to be Nalini and Hasiru Dala agreed to be our local partners in India. And then I ran into Gonzalo Munoz at a conference, and he agreed to have Triciclos agree to be our American partners. And so then we had this amazing team, and we were able to start this research. And this is the research behind the book, Leave No Trace. And so what we did was we actually went into the world. We went into Indonesia, India, Brazil, and Chile, and we talked with 45 amazing frontline organizations on how they solved universal challenges. And so the challenges that we looked at were 5 things. So one was behavior change at scale. So this means we're looking at how do frontline organizations actually inspire communities to not only sort their waste, but actually to even pay for waste services for the very first time? How do they inspire governments to change their ways? 2 was waste picker inclusion. So as cities become more modern and move towards sort of cleaner, more modern waste systems, how do we make sure that waste pickers have a role and we can secure a healthier, sort of more stable economic livelihood for them? We also looked at recycling plastics economically. So how do we actually make a circular plastic economy possible in rapidly developing economies, especially with problematic plastics? The 4th challenge was affordable waste collection, and this is something very dear to my heart. So how do we bring waste collection to millions of people when there's not enough funding in the world or in some of the places that we're working to do so? Somehow. And the final one is processing organic waste without a loss. So almost everywhere in the world, when we take organic waste and we create valuable products like compost or fertilizer or black soldier fly, it generally costs more to create those products than the revenue that you can actually get from those products. And so we went outside and we asked leaders and we said, how did you guys do it? And it was rare to find an organization that was able to accomplish all 5 of those universal challenges, but most excelled in 1, 2, or 3 of those challenges. And so we're so thankful. This whole book and this webinar are about really recognizing these frontline leaders, their stories, their wisdom on how to actually make waste and recycling systems work in economies that need it the most. So these are the different organizations and people that we interviewed in Brazil, Chile, India, and Indonesia, and we will forever be grateful for them. So they are the real heroes here. I also want to give thanks to the authors of the book. So from Triciclos, we had Julia and Camila. So thank you guys both, from Hasiru Dala, Pinky and Nalini, and from Zulfikar from Vital Ocean. We also had some amazing peer reviewers. So Dr. Ravi Anapunindi at the University of Michigan, Ross Business School, has his imprint on every single chapter. We also have Mira and Carmela from Systemic, David Clark from AMCOR, Graham Dormans from EWA, Claudio Giacovelli from UN Environment, Linda Godfrey from South Africa from CSIRR. We had Rob Kaplan from Circulate Capital, David Lepinier from Resource Futures, Nicole Portley from Pacific Environment, and Sylvia Devon from Sweep Smart. Many of you guys are joining us right now, so thank you guys so much for all of your contributions to make this, this work so valuable. Also, huge appreciation goes out to especially Leslie at ExxonMobil for believing in this project, and ExxonMobil is a proud supporter and founding member of the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. Also, huge appreciation goes out to Systemic and the Materials Platform, and particularly Martin Stuktai and Ben Dixon, leaders of the platform, and to Dini Juzianti from who's a co-founder in Vital Ocean and leader in Vital Ocean Indonesia, as well as SWI. So without further ado, let's get into the actual webinar. So we're going to do this a little bit differently. So what we're going to do is actually have leaders from frontline organizations that are featured in the book actually tell their stories. And so we're actually bringing, you know, sort of life to theory. We're going to cover case studies from 3 of the 6 chapters. So the first one is behavior change. This chapter is really about inspiring communities. It's about understanding how belief structures work, creating a theory of change, using powerful influencing strategies, and developing campaigns. So with that, I will introduce Pak Supardi, who has been a real mentor to me personally on behavior change. So Pak Supardi runs an organization called Rumah Kompos Padangtegal in Bali, Indonesia. So his earlier career, he was a journalist, editor and managing editor of Indonesian publications, including Bali News, Bali Sun, Bali and Beyond, and the French news agency AFP. He saw that humanity needed to change the way they treat the ocean and decided to make a difference personally. He combined his deep understanding of Balinese culture to build and manage Rumah Kompos Padangtegal, which is located in Bali, Indonesia, and which has achieved 100% household separation of organic and non-organic waste. And he wants to bring this to the entire island of Bali by 2025, which he calls the golden year, and usher in a new era and culture of waste management. So Pak Supardi is going to answer the question, how did you convince 100% of households to separate their waste into organic and non-organic fractions?
So, is it my time?
It is your time.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Joy. I'm excited to be here, and yeah, if anything, we can learn together. So let's learn together. So I'm jump into directly to the session. So the story of Rumah Kompos actually way back start in around 2002. When I start to go diving, and then we learned that the challenge with the ocean is massive. Is the plastic is everywhere. Indonesia is the second biggest polluter of the planet, which put us into a very shameful situation. So from 2002 and 2012, I started doing something kind of underwater cleanup, mountain cleanup, underwater cleanup, mountain cleanup, and beach cleanup. But because it is, we do it here and there, the rate of success is not that maximum. So, but within those years, I met a lot of, because during my journalism era, I met a lot of religious leaders, Hindu priests, and I talked to them. And he mentioned about a massive ceremony on Bali that when a ceremony is going on, the biggest one is going on, and the parades carrying the god symbol, and when there's a plastic hanging around on the road, on the bamboo pole, the god stop. don't want to go, don't want to move forward. So at the time, so normally a gamelan man or musical man or somebody in the period got trance, visited by the god, and then try, what is the solution? Oh, the solution is plastic hanging on the tree. And the guy jump into the tree and climb the tree and collect the plastic going down. Many things like this. At one time, a few years ago, the parade was stopped, and then there is no plastic on the road. But one guy was got a vision from the god, and he saw the plastic kite stranded in a power pole, and he jumped. He climbed the go to the electricity and collect the plastic, collect the kite going down, and the parade start to go. I was amazed. I was like taken aback. How could it be? How could it be the Balinese Hindu gods understand that plastic is dangerous? That's what made me curious. So in 2012, it happens that I met my college, university college in Ubud, and he resident of Ubud and warned me, Supardi, can you do a program in my village? So in 2012, okay, I love it. Yeah, I'm excited because I want to go deep into the village level, into what you call it, customary institution, desa adat. So the story goes like this. 2012 we start, and then 3 years because everyone is on fire. Okay. In 2015, actually, we are entering a national competition for the best village, the best environmentally village. We are number 2 in Indonesia. So in 3 years, we become the second best in Indonesia. But actually, I personally not happy. Everyone is happy because the percentage of the separation is actually 60 or 70, sometimes even 50%. But we are the best, second best in Indonesia, because the second best, everyone visiting, university student and a professor from Australia, from USA, they visited. But we are embraced because this is not proper yet. So because this is not proper, so we said what we call not proper is because like this. I put you so the truck here. So the truck, actually we put separation here, organic and non-organic. Organic here, non-organic here. It never works because one, the organic is too much, it fill up here, and sometimes the non-organic is way too much, and this one is half empty, and we put it here. So that people don't trust us. We separate at home, but you mix it in the truck. So in 2016, we revolutionize how we work. So we asked the leaders in the village, please provide us 2 different trucks. Organic truck is different, non-organic truck is different. So in 2016, not only that we provide, we separate the team into organic, non-organic. They go in different route. They go in different time. They go in different. They have their own uniform. The green one is organic, and the blue army is non-organic. So in 2016, we put that system, and we ask, and we make sure that everyone must separate. So to make it it happens, because we only invest in the truck and the more workers. So we ask the villagers, you must separate. If you don't separate, we're gonna call your name. So while our truck is running around, I drove the truck here. So my workers down here, before they put the waste into the truck, they check first. If it is good, then we say, Mr. John, very good. So if it is bad, this is a mix up, and then we say, Mr. Wayan, for example. Mr. Wayan, jelek. Jelek means bad. So within 1 year, suddenly the participation of the separation jumped from 60 to 95. Wow, this is interesting. So it's very. So we found that this is amazing. But by the end of 2016, we found that 5% of 735 families, they mean not to follow us. No matter we tell them. Can you hear me? So no matter how we tell them, how we text, we explain the situation, they didn't want to go with us. They keep throwing it, they mixing up. So by the end of 2016, I talked to the chief village. Chief village, he is very visionary leaders in the village. So chief, this is our problem. 5% of the whole 735 families refused to go with us, to separate. What is the solution? So I asked him, can you issue awik-awik, we call it a rule, everyone in the village must separate. If you don't separate, we don't collect. So 1st of January 2017, so this is the time when we started. Everyone must separate or we don't collect their waste. So the story goes on. Yeah, the stories become like a challenge. Those 5%, they mean not to follow our system. So yeah, it's a lot of argument. Some of them at one time, at the fourth day of 2017, one guy, when we for example, it's like this. Our truck is here. My truck is and my crew is about to collect the waste to check whether it's separated or not. The owner, because it's been 4 days, so angry, they kick the organic and non-organic mixed up to my crew. So my crew was terrified, so scared, but I say, I hit my steering bar. Yes, this is gonna work. This is gonna work because the challenge is so much. That's much the highest point. Now after that, we're going down. That's exactly what happened. On the 5th day of 2017, everyone, not until 7 days, the 5th day of 2017, everyone, the last 5%, they have no option because we mean it. After 4 days, of course, the Indonesia, because of if you leave organic food waste, 4 days, it's already smell, it's already a mosquito, flies, worm, everything is there. It's really, really terrible. They can't afford to stay in their own way. So, okay, then on the 5th day of 2017, so everyone, okay, so so actually, within 5 years, actually we spent a lot of money, a lot of effort. We try to make entertainment, we make a musical performance, we have a clown to dance and puppet show, and you want to call it student question and answer, a lot of things. But the solution is actually when, at the end of the day, the village issue rule, we call it awik-awik and balins. The awik-awiks is because balins, they follow the leaders. Whatever the village leader mentioned, they must follow. And so my job is become easy actually, because using the Balinese what you call the golden rule, we call it Trihita Karana. So yeah, we implement separation based on the Hinduism. What I consult to many high priests, to religious leaders, that the gods of Bali and the goddesses of Bali, they wish the island are clean of plastic. So that's why we make sure that we can do that. So in 2017, because we are the best already on Bali, so we got a support from the central government. We have a massive building, 700 billion. Now our facility is 10 times bigger than our initial in 2012. So yeah, everyone's now is happy because But of course, we can't stop it. We are not happy yet. It's only one village out of 1,500 customary village. Only us, only Padangtegal doing it. So our job, my job now, is I move from Rumah Kompos Padangtegal to make this idea, to make Padangtegal can be photocopied, can be copy paste into another village. So that's our dream. That's why we set our dream. 2025, we could make our program island wide. That within 1,500 villages, everyone is doing the same thing. Joy, it's already 7 minutes something,
Yes,
I guess. So, yeah, that's.
Thank you.
So the story still is long, but I know that you must need to cut my time. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so helpful to hear it from the front line, for sure.
All right.
So I wanted to just weave in a little bit of theory. So when we think about how do you actually change behavior, there's 4 steps, and these are pretty universal depending on the theory of change and very different standards. But so communicate a powerful why for change. So in Bali, Pak Supardi uses something called Cahita Karana, which means divinity of man, of God, and of the nature, and really incorporates that into everything. Teach how to change. You know, all of the sort of brochures and the puppets and all of this stuff are all teaching that sort of how to change and giving separate bins and the separate compartments in the trucks. Structurally make it easy to change, actually having the trucks come on different days, and actually not picking up the trash when it's not separated makes it structurally easy to change, and then aligning the incentives to reinforce the change. So this is again having the awig religious law.
Yes, the
and,
rule.
Sorry, Pak Supardi?
Yeah, rule. Yeah, rule.
The rule. Yes,
rule.
the rule. And you know, not coming to pick up the waste. Like all of these are really structurally supporting that, or sort of creating the incentives, reinforcing those incentives. So Pak Supardi also used 3 influencing techniques. We have 9 influencing techniques, or 8 influencing techniques that are particularly powerful that we've heard from many organizations. So for him, it was inspiring values, it was the authority, and it was the social pressure. So inspiring with the Cahita Karana, with all of the sort of religious interconnection, with the authority of actually the religious law, and the social pressure of, you know, naming who sorts their waste well, and saying, you know, the person or the family's name and good, or the family's name and bad, puts a lot of social pressure. So other organizations used different methods of influencing, but all equally powerful, and you can read a lot about that in the book. So Pak Supardi, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're very welcome.
Quite
Thank you.
inspirational. So, okay, so moving on to chapter 2 is waste picker inclusion. One thing that I think was particularly powerful is that we went deep both in Brazil and in India, and I would say those are 2 countries that are arguably probably the most supportive of waste picker inclusion in the world. And there's a lot of similarities about how the waste picker inclusion happened between the 2 countries. So this chapter goes into quite a bit of detail on who waste pickers are, what they need, what's important, how much they make, how to build solidarity, how do you actually create policies that are supportive, and how do you remove waste picker stigma, etc. So to introduce this chapter, we're going to have Nalini Shekar and Pinky Chandran and Hasiru Dala talk to us and answer 2 questions. So one is, how did you change waste picker rights and city
Joy.
waste?
Well.
Sorry? So how do you change waste picker rights and city waste management practices in Bangalore? And what do waste pickers need? And can one organization do it all? And just to give a little introduction to Nalini and Pinky, who are two powerhouse women. So Nalini is co-founder of Hasiru Dala, an organization in Bangalore, India that restores dignity to waste pickers and improves access.
Capture Putri taruh di grup. Jadi besok siapa yang bisa webinar, dia harus dia loh, itu anak MO itu.
Is that Nalini?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apa-apa Put, pakai itu.
So she has upskilled hundreds of waste pickers and worked for decades with governments to integrate waste pickers and build sustainable waste management practices. Before working in waste, Nalini advocated for the right of survivors of violence. She's been chosen as one of BBC's 100 Women in India who make a difference in society and has won several other awards. And now Pinky's over 2 decades of experience, co-founded Radioactive 90.4, Bangalore's first community radio station. She's co-founder of Bangalore's very effective Solid Waste Management Roundtable. She's a trustee of Hasiru Dala and an active campaigner for decentralized community-based waste management, and has co-authored numerous books and papers. So Pinky, Nalini, handing it over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to take you back to 2009, 2010, when a group of us were actually in a roundtable meeting. This is in the year 2010, and Nalini joined in the meeting. So this particular meeting was hosted by this group called the Solid Waste Management Roundtable, which was a voluntary group of people who had come together after seeing a lot of cleanup drives and realized that it was not sustainable, that they decided to come together to look at decentralization and to implement segregation at source. So that was the whole agenda of the meeting. And in that particular meeting, we were discussing, how can we start dry waste collection center or neighborhood recycling centers. And so the discussion was on. Nalini joined in the meeting. When she first entered the meeting, she was all like, hi, and everything like that. And as soon as she joined the meeting and she sat down, then she crossed her hands and then she started shaking her head constantly. And I was sitting across her and I kept wondering, like, why is she so negative? What happened to her? She was all right when she joined the meeting. And as soon as we finished the meeting, she had a call, so she stepped out and I followed her. And when she finished her call, I was like, Nalini, what happened? Like, didn't you agree with anything, or was something amiss? What happened? Why were you constantly nodding your head? And then she looked at me and she said, how can you even talk about waste management without waste pickers? And for a moment I froze and I just turned around, looked at my colleagues, and I'm like, waste pickers, we've actually invisibilized them. A city like Bangalore, who had made an intervention a good 20 years back, had still not really looked at waste pickers as an important contributor in the city's waste management practices. 2010 was a life-changing moment because that's when Hasiru Dala started. Hasiru Dala means green force, and the name came about, was suggested by the waste pickers. If you look at the logo, it is very representative of the waste pickers in general. That apart, in 2010-11 itself, 2010, SWMRT had filed a petition at People's Court for decentralized waste management. So in 2011, when Nalini joined in, she, through the Alliance of Indian Waste Pickers, filed an affidavit to look at providing identity cards for waste pickers. And that changed, the way people looked at waste pickers, which I'm sure Nalini is going to explain more about that. Following that whole thing, the court issued directions to the municipality to issue identity cards, and 2011 was the first batch of ID card distribution, and 2012 was the second batch of ID card distribution. And immediately after the ID card distribution, we had to look at statistics, and we had to look at a full-fledged research to look at what is the contribution. And so in 2013, using that data that came about, we actually submitted to the municipality to show that the waste pickers enumerated were actually saving 84 crores to the municipality. Over to Nalini.
Thank you. So when we said 84 crores is almost 8.4 billion Indian rupees. And when we started talking to them, what our journey has been from identity, which was not there. That is invisibility to identity. That's exactly the story of Hasiru Dala is. When you talk about waste pickers, people always thought about people who are on the street, where, having one a dirty dress, walking around, miles and miles and pick up waste. We wanted to change the whole, attitude or thinking of the perspective of people to say, no, this is not it. And you see beyond the person that you're looking at, because there's a lot of contribution that has been made by waste pickers, and that contribution is that of economic. They mitigate climate change. They are the silent environmentalists. So considering that Bangalore is a city of entrepreneurship, we decided to go with a micro entrepreneur model, where we created waste pickers to become entrepreneurs and provide the ecosystem for them to be succeeding in that. So that is the key role that we have played. And there was what we did was the first ID card that Pinky talked about, that has a logo of the city and signature of the commissioner, which is identical to that of a mayor. That is what we talked about inclusion. Then we looked at where they can be included in the waste management system itself, and also provide, they have an innate ability of entrepreneurship. We wanted to leverage that. That is what we created, the decentralized recycling unit called Dry Waste Collection Center, where all these entrepreneurs came and started working. So this is the first city where municipality has signed a contract directly with the waste pickers, and Hasiru Dala is just a third party to facilitate the whole process. And this is the first city to give ID card with the logo of the city, and integrate them and sign a contract with them. So today, what we have looked at, we had to make change from them to be on the street pickers to become a service provider. So that was a journey for the waste pickers. That was a journey for us. So that was a challenge, but we overcame with that challenge. We're providing the knowledge of what 10 years is ahead going to look like. There will be no waste on the street, then where will we go? Let's claim that waste. We have a right to the recyclable waste, because traditionally we have done the work that we needed to do to keep the city clean. So that is how we started. And we also kind of said, the citizens started demanding for a service that is better than what they were getting. They wanted a service that acknowledges the segregation that is happening. Segregated material is taken to the right place, and it is carried through 2 different streams of waste without mixing. And then we said, okay, why not we started providing service as well. There is this service at the market. We had to create it with the people, and we had to charge them. People used to throw waste on the street, and now we have to service them and also pay money. So we really, right in 2010, we adopted polluter pay principle, and then we created a market for that, and we promised the destination that needs to be looked at. So before we realized, 40 people signed up. We were very happy. In the beginning, people sign up because waste pickers, it will help the waste pickers. But eventually, when the vehicle is not there, they demand the service. The service level is very, very high. They want the trucks to be on time. They want the people to come on time. They want the people to behave certain way as a service provider. So we needed an operation rigor. We needed an infusion of capital, which could not be done as a trust. So we started Hasiru Dala Innovation, a company. So the company started, though the trust in the company has a complete Chinese wall. The philosophy of both the organization is same: creating the micro entrepreneurs, active participation of waste pickers in the decision making on the strategies. And today, the Hasiru Dala Innovation service more than 45,000 households, and we don't touch waste if it is not segregated, at least to 97%. And we have been very, very successful making this 45,000 families to segregate appropriately. And today, between the 2 organizations, we have created 1,000 jobs, mostly micro entrepreneurship. We have created entrepreneurs today who have filed income tax return, who have their own companies. And in India, we have something called MSME, that is small and medium enterprises. We have started registering them under MSME. And all these entrepreneurs today not only provide services, we are able to scale up very quickly because operation is quite rigor when it is left to them. And the city has recognized, the city last week passed a bylaw. All the practices we have had for the last 10 years, today it has become a bylaw. That means you have to have waste pickers providing the services on the dry waste collection center. A huge metro city like Bangalore accepting waste picker to provide waste management services is a huge thing. And we have replicated this model elsewhere and it has been successful. So today we have micro entrepreneurs of waste management who are servicing, and Hasiru Dala and Hasiru Dala Innovation provide the platform for them to succeed. That is the model that we have done. And we'll be happy to work with you and answer any of your questions, or later also connect with us to get more information. We would like Hasiru Dala as a concept to be unicorn. We don't want Hasiru Dala to be unicorn. The concept of Hasiru Dala. We can do it here, you can do it in Indonesia, we can do it in Spain, anywhere that you think there are waste pickers, we can really do this model. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nalini and Pinky. Very inspiring as ever. Okay, so there's been a certain progression to bring waste picker empowerment that we see across the world. So it starts with solidarity among waste pickers, and I think this is something that people, I guess, don't realize. This is something that was very new to me, in that before waste pickers can mobilize, they first have to believe that another future is actually even possible, right? So there's a lot of just building up trust, building up self-confidence, treating, sort of whatever situation that they're in, that they can actually dream of a better future. And then it's about mobilization, legitimacy, both, legitimacy to work as well as to actually, own and sell waste. And then you come into entrepreneurial opportunities. And what ends up happening is you have different types of organizations that work on these different pieces. And so Hasiru Dala, for example, is a social justice and policy building organization, whereas Hasiru Dala Innovations is all about waste picker livelihoods. And you have different types of, let's say, waste picker livelihood models as well that you can read all about in the book. So given time, I'm going to move quickly on to the fourth chapter, which is about recycling plastics economically. And this is really about strategies to increase recycling revenue and to reduce recycling costs. We've got two speakers here. The first is Ben Kneppers from Bureo's Net Positivo. I was blown away by this model. I would love to do something like this in Indonesia, where we work with many fishing villages. And Ben is going to be answering the question, how do you build a plastic recycling market from scratch? And just to give a little bit of background on Ben, so he's co-founder and COO of Bureo, which is a benefits corporation focused on recycling end-of-life fishing gear. He works across Chile, Argentina, and Peru with fisheries and fishing communities to transform once harmful fishing net marine debris into fully traceable, innovative raw material known as Net Plus. He holds a bachelor in mechanical engineering and a master's in strategic leadership towards sustainability, and currently lives in Sao Paulo with his wife and super cute baby girl. So handing this over to Ben.
Thank you, Joy. Hi, everybody. You guys can hear me all okay and see me all right? Excellent. So that was a great introduction. So that covers a lot for my first slide, and being mindful of time, we'll get right into it. What I really wanted to give you, it's been quite an adventure over the last 7+ years. Setting up this program and business is kind of more of a personal note. So this really just started from myself and my two other friends. We had very interesting backgrounds well into our careers, as one in finance, one in engineering design, and myself in sustainability. But we all shared a really common passion for the ocean environment, and we continued to see this problem of plastic pollution plaguing it. And we, as you do in your 20s, we had some late night beers and thought, what if we could take these skill sets we've grown to develop and these very interesting areas and do something more meaningful that could touch on our passion for the ocean environment. And somehow we landed on this crazy idea. What if we could take ocean plastic pollution and turn it into a skateboard deck? And that's where this whole thing started to where we're at today. And so with that idea, we really want to make more sense of this and if it was actually feasible. So we took a very academic approach, and what we quickly understood is you can't just take plastic from anywhere, especially from the ocean environment, and expect to do something really consistently high performing with it. Instead, we had to take a step back and look at what really makes up the plastic pollution in the ocean. Something that really struck us, the next slide, was this stuff here, which is discarded fishing gear. It's been known to represent over 10% of the plastic pollution, but more importantly, it's actually the most harmful form of ocean plastic pollution. If a net like this gets lost in the ocean, it can last over 400 years before it would break down. And it's designed, and it will continue to do what it's designed, is to trap marine life and degrade marine ecosystems. All that being said, this is a highly recyclable, high performance material. And so, and the biggest thing is it's a consistent form of plastic. It's one net is almost always typically one type of plastic. So that enables us to recycle it. And it just so happened to be the same kind of plastic cruiser skateboards were made from. So looking into that, we then connected on the side of the fishermen. And what we were seeing, surprisingly, was this was really just a problem because the nets would continue to turn over. The last thing fishermen wanted was a broken net, and there just wasn't any alternatives for it. So what we ended up creating was this program called Net Positivo, next slide, where we provided this really simple and straightforward solution. Instead of looking at it as a problem, we looked at it as an opportunity. So what we would do is we'd partner directly with those fishermen and fishing communities, and from the biggest commercial fisheries to the smallest fishing communities, give them the infrastructure, the understanding of the consequences of discarding this material, and the right incentives, where then before it enters the marine environment, we can give them those right resources so that they have the incentives, the understanding to now have this really positive end of life solution to return them back to us. We then were able to train teams of local workers to transform those nets. And then with that material being consistent, sorted, cleaned, we could recycle it into a new high value raw material source. Next slide. And so this is just a really quick snapshot of how it works. We give that infrastructure. We employ and train teams of local workers to collect those nets. And then for every kilo, since we're generating this higher value, now 1 kilo of plastic made into a skateboard can be worth over $100. We were then able to commit to not only scaling our program, but also reinvesting the money in other environmental issues facing these fishing communities. Next slide. Yep. And so this is kind of a collage of everything going on. We're so caught up in all the complexities of getting this brand new supply chain from scratch off the ground, giving the right incentives and having things work smoothly so we could get this final skateboard, which, you believe it or not, you can see in the bottom corner that we were able to develop after about the first year of development. And as much as we were trying to engage with the fishermen, educate them about the problem, a big breakthrough that we didn't even see coming was actually when we showed them the first skateboard. And when they got to see this was actually their waste, it became a source of pride for them, where it was a huge breakthrough. And quickly what we started seeing through getting news attention and media across Chile, where we started the program, was we were getting access to way more fishing nets than we would need just to make our few skateboards. And suddenly we started to, a few years into the business, started to rethink ourselves and say, is this business really about selling how many skateboards we can sell, or how many fishermen we can work with to create this end of life solution for their nets? And quickly we learned that it was much more about the latter decision of how many fishermen can we really work with to eliminate this waste. And that's where we're at today. Next slide. Conveniently enough, what we've found is there's companies, not just ours, companies all around the world that want to do good as well, want to step up. They know virgin plastic is a problem. They know working with those harmful materials is a problem, and they wanted to do good too. So conveniently enough, as we were going through that process, we were actually organically approached by all of these companies that said, hey, we heard what you're doing with your skateboards. It's great. Could you do that with our products too? And suddenly it was just a plug and play. Instead of worrying about how many skateboards we were selling and what we were going to develop next, we could hand it over to these other responsible businesses that had supply chains already placed, had the customers, had the sales channels, and we could do what we were getting better and better about, which was having the materials sourced from more and more of these fishing communities. So now we have this plethora of companies we're working with in a growing number, from Costa sunglasses, Future surfboard fins, Jenga ocean game sets, Trek bike accessories, and with our biggest partner being Patagonia, we're on track now from going from the tens of tons with the skateboards to now thousands of tons of end-of-life fishing nets collected and recycled annually. And this is where we're at today. Next slide. Is we have this goal now of providing this solution that we've come up with for the end, this harmful material for every fishery in need. We started in Chile. We've launched in the last 2 years in Peru and Argentina, and we're just really honestly still getting started there. The program's fully scalable, and it's something that we really hope to go even beyond South America, but really every fishery is facing this, unfortunately, around the world, and we're hoping to provide them that solution. So in close, you know, what does it really take to build a recycling market from scratch? You know, you can get into all the nitty gritty of it, but honestly, it's got to start with passion. It's not going to happen unless you are there fully committed to making this happen. There's a lot of people that you got to convince first, but once you get those breakthroughs, it just slowly starts to build the momentum, and it's unbelievable what will change. And I think a lot of the people here, everyone here, are speaking on great examples of that. And then beyond that, this is a valuable material that is beyond just a simple raw material source. It's something that has a story, and there's people that really can learn to appreciate that. And what we've found is being fully transparent and implementing an open supply chain, we've found some breakthroughs that we're really hopeful are going to help us really get to this goal of providing this to every fishery in need. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to leave it there, being mindful of time so we can talk more during the questions.
Thank you, Ben, so much. Very inspiring. So just to kind of put a little bit of theory to this, there's 6 different recycling revenue or strategies to increase recycling revenue that the book covers. Ben's example is covering new market creation, using vertical integration, and creating a product that is a material of purpose and that has that material traceability, so that one day when someone buys a skateboard, they can actually figure out exactly which fishing village that came from, which is pretty amazing. So wonderful example. I'm going to move quickly to Rodolfo from Triciclos. So Rodolfo is a partner corporate commercial manager and CEO of Triciclos Colombia. Triciclos is a benefit corporation providing circular solutions for post-consumer materials. He's a food engineer, a packaging specialist, and has many years evaluating the impact of recycling, industrial and municipal waste solutions, projects in Chile, Peru, Brazil, and Colombia. So Rodolfo is going to answer the question, how do you use frontline insights to change the mindset of consumer packaged goods companies to make better products for the world? So quite a hectic question, and handing it over to Rodolfo.
Thanks, Joy, and thanks for the invitation, and many thanks for the book. I'm going to start my presentation by introducing the history of our company. In 2009, Gonzalo Muñoz, Joaquín Arnolds, and Manuel Diaz founded Triciclos in order to change the relationship between society and waste, consumption habits, and material final disposal. To do so, they created recycling station like we are seeing for recyclable materials throughout Chile, changing the recycling map of the country. In 2011, Triciclos became the first big corporation outside North America, and I started to work in Triciclos in this year too. In 2014, we opened our office in Brazil with the investment from Mob Investimento, and we start to work with several waste picker cooperatives in this country. In 2018, thanks to Colombia FCP funds and Chile Fish America's investment, Our ambition to move forward led us to Colombia and Peru, in addition to provide consultancies for other countries like Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, Bolivia, and Ecuador. Also, we have more than 210 recycling points operated in South America. During our evolution, we understood the waste picker inclusion was an essential part of our goals, and we started a training program to collaborate and validate their capabilities and formalize them as social entrepreneurship. After 10 years, we gained the knowledge and the experience to redesign products, services, and business models, helping our clients to improve on their sustainable goals and introduce them to the circular economy. Today, Triciclos is able to influence the production chain of consumer goods even before its creation, promoting a more circular logic even before the consumption itself. To do so, we have innovated by creating our own software, the Recyclability Index, which measures how recyclable is a packaging material in a territory, for example, in South America. Until today, Triciclos has analyzed 35,000 products, helping more than 80 companies to eliminate design errors from the start. We believe that waste is a design error that needs to be solved, and we work every day to achieve this goal. We exist to help our clients and communities reach their maximum potential around triple impact, supporting their transformation towards a circular economy in order to contribute to a sustainable society. As I was saying, Triciclos has learned many things in the last year, and the following story confirms this process. This part of Triciclos begins 40 years ago from our foundation. Soledad Mella was born in Santiago de Chile into a farmer's family. She has lived her whole life in the same neighborhood, Lo Hermida, in Peñalolén. Growing up between stories and dreams, wanted to finish her studies, have a profession, but life gave her another path, starting to work informally on street recycling. In 2013, we met her and invited her to open a recycling station in her community. And in this point, Soledad started to be a key actor of recycling and environmental education in Chile and South America. This changed her vision about life, and so did her family. She never thought that working with a small supermarket cart, she would end up in search of 4 collection points and recycling all over Santiago. Soledad and his family helped more than 500 families recovering recycled material from their homes, and today she has an initiative that aims to reach more than 1,000 houses in Santiago. Soledad says, one of the good things that happens at collection points is installing the environmental education in recycling experience. Consumer habits have been changed, allowing these people to understand that consumption can do a lot of damage on the environment. Today, Soledad leads the Chile waste picker movement by the phrase, recycling without waste pickers is waste. She has promoted a certification that validates the permanent work, and the EPR regulation does incorporate waste picker role within its application in Chile. Soledad, the national movement of waste picker, and Triciclos have created a relationship that goes beyond our passion for recycling. We have built the possibility of creating a social, educational, and environmental relationship with collection station users that have allowed us to recover more than 36,000 tons of recycled material in South America. This is the story of Sole. This is the story about Triciclos, and this is the story about we are building a better present for everyone. Thank you, Joy, for the invitation.
Thank you, Rodolfo. That's wonderful. In conclusion, before we go to questions, I just want to wrap up very quickly, and then Pak Supardi has asked us to do a declaration, and then we'll do the questions. just to, I guess my summary would be, waste is always someone else's problem, right? It's very easy to blame. It's very easy to just, the very nature of waste is to take it and to throw it away and to transfer that responsibility. But in order for us to really solve this, we have to work together. We have to work from top down. We have to work bottom up. And we really have to empower those that are doing the work on the ground, collecting the materials, processing them, recycling, safely disposing them. We need to make sure that they have the resources they need to do a really good job and to scale models that work. This stuff is really hard, and the stories that have been shared here have come with a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of trying things that failed first before they really found what actually worked. And so hopefully by sharing these types of insights, we can make the journey a little bit easier for other organizations. The book itself is free. It's published in 4 languages. So it's English, Portuguese, Spanish, and Bahasa Indonesia, just to try to really get these insights to as many people as possible. We're also going to try to do some webinars in the different languages to open it up to those audiences as well. So I really want to thank all of our speakers and for Nina for hosting us on this international waste platform. We're so appreciative, and for everyone who's joined us. I now want to just hand it over to Pak Supardi, and I want to ask if everyone, and I know we're right at time, but if everyone would turn on their camera and turn on your mic, and we're going to try to do this together. So this should be quite interesting. Sorry? So we're going to follow his lead, and then we're going to repeat the message on the screen.
Joy, I think you better turn off the share screen so we can see everyone.
We won't be able to read it.
Oh, that's true. But we're just going to repeat it, so we don't actually need to read it. So I will turn off the share screen. Andre, come on, let's see you.
I will also put it in the chat. So if you need to read it, you can read it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, so Pak Supardi,
he has less headaches. Customer के उसके अंदर से.
You take it away.
Essentially उसको additional
Switch the TV off.
To get off the platform. Plus customer की leads तुम उसको बढ़ा के दो.
Put it.
And customer doesn't ask for money.
Joy, can you mute that person?
Supardi, do you wanna take it away?
Yeah,
this TV needs to be turned off.
The host can mute that guy.
Sorry, it's noisy. Yeah.
Which one is it?
Sandeep. Again.
Okay, Pak Supardi.
Okay, everybody ready?
Ready.
Are you ready?
Yes. Ready.
Everyone, can I invite you to stand up, please? Stand up like me. Yeah, stand up. Yeah. Put your hand like mine here. It's 0 waste. Put your hand like this on your heart. Okay, like this. Sorry. It's 0. Sorry, it's 0 waste. 0 W. Okay. Okay. Yeah, like this. Yeah, like this, It's 0 W. It's 0 waste.
Oh yeah.
Like this. Okay, 0 waste. So yeah, that's W0. Turn it. Okay, that's it. So
with left hand.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Yes.
Ready. You follow my words, yeah? We are proud the world is clean in year 2025.
We are
proud
the world is
clean in 2025.
Any challenges with waste?
Any challenges?
Yes,
We find a sustainable solution together.
We find
a sustainable solution together.
Sooner than ever.
Sooner than ever.
So, June 16, 2020.
The world.
June 16, 2020.
2020.
On behalf of all citizens of the planet Earth.
On behalf
of all citizens of planet Earth.
Planet Earth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh,
You see it?
do we have any questions?
Okay.
Can't follow that.
Hi,
And
Joy.
I think, Nina, if you can go back to being the host.
I'm the host now, and
Okay,
we got some really interesting questions also on YouTube.
Okay.
So the first one is from I think our youngest participant. So it's wonderful that youth is also joining this session. The first question is for Ben, and it's from Lucy's son. And he's asking Ben, can you make skateboard wheels off the nets?
Yes, that's a great question. So skateboard wheels are typically made from urethane, which is a very different type of material than plastic fishing nets. Urethane is one type of material, and then you've got fishing nets typically made from polyethylene or nylon 6. But so it wouldn't suit a wheel. It'd be very hard. It'd be very, very stiff. But we did find ways to substitute the urethane for reclaimed vegetable oil waste in part of the wheel, which we did with a skateboard wheel company called Satori, and also replaced the core, the hard plastic core of the wheel, with recycled plastic. So there are other ways that we found other solutions with other types of plastics and materials that were once perceived as waste. But it's a good idea.
Okay, and another question for you, Ben, from Lisa Genasci. Are you then selling plastic pellets to the companies you listed?
Correct. It's a bit of a deeper relationship than just selling the plastic to the companies. We work very closely with them to make sure their whole supply chain is operating in a responsible manner. The products are high value, long life, and have end of life solution incorporated from the start. So it's not just a one-time reuse, it's a long life use. And then when they do meet their end of life, we can recycle them again. But yes, the ultimate idea is to supply them our recycled fishing net plastic.
Okay, thank you. And then we have a question from Togean Islands, from Leah. It's a question about how you can engage the government, and in the question it was actually corrupt government, to get involved in waste management. So maybe that's a question for Joy, or who else would like to answer?
So I think where we work in Indonesia, it's actually waste is far less controversial and far, I think, without fewer political interests than a lot of other sustainability topics. There's not a great deal of money in waste. And so we actually don't run into, at least in Indonesia, we haven't run into much corruption on the waste issue, to be honest. So we found that the government partners that we have been very, very supportive, and that just hasn't been an issue. I can imagine it can be an issue where you have a lot of waste systems already in existence, but we tend to work in places where there's minimal, if any, waste system in place.
Okay, thanks. And then we have 2 questions for Pak Supardi.
Okay.
First of all, from Mike Webster, he said he's really interested in how you use religious beliefs to engage population. So maybe you would like to say a little bit more about that?
Yes, thank you for the question. So yeah, everyone knows, all Balinese Hindu, they are very, very faithful to the God. So they follow whatever the priest say. For example, on Bali, if the priest, the Hindu priest say that don't cut a tree, please put a sarung on a tree. Nobody nobody, no one in the village gonna cut a tree, not even take a leaf, not even take the drying leaf. Why? Because the priest, the god, want the trees to grow. So nobody is otherwise you put offering on it. So because they're so faithful to the leaders, to the high priest, so we ask, we talk to the high priest. High priest, this is the danger of plastic. This is the danger of throwing mineral water bottles, throwing on the road, glass, yeah, whatever. You just like children just eating and throwing, and people are just burning the plastic, which is very dangerous practice. So my approach is because the Balinese is very faithful, and then but they won't listen to us. They want to listen to me. They're gonna listen to the priest, the high priest. So we let the high priest understand that your gods, the Hindu gods, is against the use of plastic in any ceremony. So once the high priest understand that message, and they deliver the message to the people, and the high percentage that the Balinese is gonna follow the leaders, the high priest. That's the case. So my role is actually to let the high priest know the situation. Because many of them, they don't know that plastic, styrofoam, for example, in the Balinese ceremony, the dead body is put inside paper maze made of styrofoam. That's crazy. Styrofoam is very dangerous. And they put the body inside the styrofoam, and they burn the body inside the styrofoam together, which is, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So that's why we approach hey, let's study. Plastic is like this. The component is dioxin and whatever, chlorine, and which is not good for the environment, not good for the body, not good for the ritual patient. Because the last patient of the ceremony is to the heaven when you die, and entering the heaven, you put in the poison stuff of styrofoam, which is so now they sift, yeah, we start to sift using the religion, using the philosophy of Tritakaran of the Hindu, and now using that religious issue, it makes us the job is, I'm not really saying it is easy, but really helpful, yeah? Because it's we put everything is in their belief. So once that using plastic is against their belief, they're gonna do that. So that's it, the answer. Thank you.
And there are many more questions for you, Pak Supardi.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are running a bit over time, but
I know.
they are really interesting questions. So. One is, in many countries there are already recycling targets and rules in place, but the problem is the lack of awareness, infrastructure, capacity to enforce. Which, according to you, is the weakest link in the chain?
So, like the case in Indonesia is actually awareness. We in our school, everyone study mathematics, everybody studying economy, everybody studying medical, everybody studying physics, how to build a car, how to build a motorbike, how to build a plane, how to make money, how to make. But we never, as a student, we never being told how to behave, how to use the refillable bottle, for example. Never in our school. So in case in your country, the situation is the same. We must, from ourselves, we must make this from student, from school environment. That from school environment, from the very young, we come with the student that okay, this stuff is not taught by the government. It's not taught by the Department of Education. Why? Because how dangerous is plastic is, it's never told to us. And the decision maker in the education, they don't have that understanding. Maybe the minister in your country, they have no picture. why plastic is dangerous? No, it's okay. So that's because of they have no understanding. So you and I and a few of us who got the understanding. Let's start. Let's start at least from ourselves. Like myself, don't buy single-use plastic. Don't buy single-use mineral water, and you just carry your own bottle. You refill. And the more, for example, in our in the Padangtegal case, when we start, when 10% follow, everybody is bullying the 10%. But when it's 50% following, and then the power is balanced. But when the separation rate is reaching 90%, the 10% they have no place. Oh, we have no place. So they are same, and then they follow. So let's start. No matter how small, 10% or 5% or 20%, just go with this. Go with this. And some more people are going to follow you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and another question. So luckily, the Indonesian government has now, regulated environmental education will be in the national curriculum, but it still has to be implemented.
That's great.
There's another question from also to you, from Leah Karar. She is asking, what measures are you pursuing to stop the flow of plastic in the first place? You just illustrated you have to talk about refilling, but so this is her question. Are you promoting reuse and refill options? Thank you.
Indeed, that is the solution. So the solution is the banning the single-use plastic and encourage everyone to carry their own bottle. Because we start with our colleagues in the industry, we provide a refill center, and you can find it on your apps, and that's where you arrive in Bali, where I can get to refill my empty bottle. And normally it's free. Maximum you pay on it only 1,000 or 2,000, which is only 10 cents, which is very cheap compared to when you buy this one. So of course, everyone in this community, we want that the industry can reduce as much as the single use, whatever, as it's drink, food wrap, chocolate, and it's many in the market. So how we as who understand the customers, who understand the situation, how to put to restrain that and to build our own culture. That my culture is I refill my bottle anywhere. So yeah, thank you very much for your question. So that's the way it's supposed to go. So how you call it the zero waste. The world is clean 2025. Is everyone is using that avoid single-use plastic. Thank you.
Thank you. So Joy, yeah, we have one or two more questions, but maybe we should wrap up.
Sorry, Nina.
Well, we have one or two more questions, but maybe we.
I think.
Oh yeah.
Well,
one question for Pinky and Nalini.
Let's maybe do the last question.
Yeah, last question then
for Pinky and Nalini. Yeah, and then and thanks everybody for staying a bit longer.
So the question is, how do you institutionalize the waste picker effort to be accounted into local government waste management system? I don't know who asked the question. A presenter from India, waste pickers, asked. I don't know. Anyway, so, is the question clear?
Yeah. How do you institutionalize waste pickers and solid waste management to the government? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
So what we have done when we started work in 2010, everything was outsourced. So we really looked at how we can actually integrate waste pickers if all collection has already been outsourced. So we worked with the citizen group in Bangalore and looked at making the policy much broader and making the bulk generator, that is anybody who create more than 10 kilograms of organic waste and who has more than 50 dwelling in one apartment, they really looked at them as bulk generators and they needed services separately. Second thing we saw was every decentralization was the in thing everybody wanted to do. And there was already discussion of setting up recycling units, not recycling, actually aggregation units in each of the administrative ward. We have 198 administrative wards in Bangalore. Every ward will have one dry waste collection center. Yes, but who will run it? You need to get a method that is less expensive for the city and also integrate waste pickers. So we went back to the city and said, let's get waste picker to actually run these centers. We will train them, we will skill them, we will handhold them, and we will make it work. Actually, we also did the economic analysis of it and showed it to the government. So actually, doing a decentralized method and integrating waste pickers were cheaper than they taking it to very, very far away, 45 kilometers away to throw. So what we actually used as a strategy was to do the research, show them the economics for that will benefit the city. And also we had already calculated how much of money that is being saved by waste picker just being on the street picking up the waste. So all these arguments, and also the local government, any government has a responsibility to reduce poverty in the city and also provide good waste management services. This strategy looked at both of them effectively. So that is how our commissioner was very keen to do it, and he went outside his ability to, he really looked at what is the best way legally to do it, and we started doing it. And today, the bylaw that has come last week has clearly mentioned that is what will going to happen in Bangalore. So it's a long drawn process. So we have, because waste is the subject of the city, not of the state or the country. So you have to work with the local government to make it work. And you have to demonstrate it works. It just doesn't, by saying it doesn't work. We demonstrated, we trained the waste because we showed how much of waste is reduced. So it really worked. And Pinky, you want to add something?
Yes, I just quickly wanted to add that in 2016, when the municipal solid waste management rules came about,
it's a national level law.
It's a national level law. And one of the prominent features was there was a definition of waste pickers and informal waste collectors, which we believe that was an achievement of sorts of all the policy advocacy of organizations that have been working with waste pickers from 1991, where Nalini also played a huge role in that particular organization. So I think it's a great achievement, though we've had a long, almost 2 decades of work that went into it.
Nina, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, mute, unmuted. I think another really important and maybe the last question from Lucy to Nalini. Did you notice any gender differences in terms of waste picker willingness to be trained to run these centers?
And Nalini, we can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yes, there was in the beginning, there was men came forward much more than women because they also had access to resources. That is, they can go to the market and take a loan and things like that. So women were not so open to it, but later they all came about in 33 dry waste collection center today. 14 of them are run by women.
Okay. Thanks very much. What do you think, Joy? We wrap it up?
Yeah, I think let's wrap it up. Again, thank you to all of our speakers, to all of the organizations profiled, to everyone joining the webinar, both in the Zoom and on the YouTube Live. We appreciate everyone. To download the book, go to vitalocean.org/book -download, or just go to vitalocean.org and you'll see the link for it. And yeah, I hope that you get a lot of benefit from the wisdom from 45 different organizations in India, Indonesia, Brazil, and Chile. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I love you all.
We love you all.
Good job, everybody. Keep it up.
Bye.